Hello drama lovers! Welcome to another video. Today we're going to delve into the first 2 episodes of the thrilling drama Wonderful World. In this video I'll provide a summary of everything that has happened so far, then we'll discuss some theories for the upcoming episodes, and finally I'll share my opinion on whether it's worth watching or not. And the story begins in a very mysterious way with an impactful scene that still leaves us with many unanswered questions. A young man with a rebellious air and clearly filled with anger seems to be driving towards Park Ha-na, who is a grieving mother in the series. But we're left without knowing whether this actually happened or not. After that, we are introduced to the story where we get to know Park Ha-na, who is a very famous and prestigious writer recently awarded a highly esteemed prize. She is married, lives in a beautiful house, and has a young son who is her greatest achievement. Ha-na has faced many difficulties to maintain a pregnancy, enduring 4 miscarriages before finally being able to hold her baby in her arms. This experience was a true miracle for her and filled her with happiness. One day, she was about to go on a business trip when her husband called, informing her that their son had a fever. Concerned, she canceled her trip and decided to return home immediately. However, when she arrived, she found her son playing in the garden with the dog and he was already feeling better. In a moment when she went inside to speak with her husband, her son slipped out onto the street because the gate was open. This led to a fatal accident as a driver ended up hitting the boy, taking him into their car, and later abandoning him near their home. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition but unfortunately didn't survive. Park Ha-na deeply blamed herself for not properly closing the gate. However, later on, she distinctly remembers closing it. So, who opened the gate? This is a mystery that continues to intrigue, and we'll explore these theories further towards the end. And there is a resolution to the boy's accident as well. The driver who hit and abandoned him surrenders to the authorities and he faces trial because the boy died due to the driver's failure to provide immediate assistance and leaving him in his car, preventing anyone from helping him. However, in this trial, he ends up being sentenced to a suspended sentence, essentially concluding it as an accident, and he will not receive a significant punishment. The series reveals that his acquittal is somehow linked to political connections. Deeply shattered by the loss of her son and outraged by the injustice, Ha-na decides to confront the driver, demanding that he apologize to her son. However, faced with his indifference and insensitivity which leaves her behind, she decides to take justice into her own hands and also runs him over, causing his death. Consequently, Ha-na is sentenced to 7 years in prison where she plunges into a state of deep depression and anxiety while her husband struggles to expose the political corruption behind the injustice. He was gathering evidence of a politician's involvement in the driver's acquittal and other corruption cases. However, the politician has something against him as well related to the gate of the house on the day of the accident. He shows him a photo of the gate and then threatens him with the following phrase, "What would Park Ha-na think about this?" This makes him give up on pursuing the accusations further. It seems like a powerful figure is manipulating events behind the scenes. And this is indeed the reality, as this politician doesn't play fair. He resorts to rather shady practices to climb to the top of the electoral race, hiring people to provide services for him in this regard. One of these hired individuals is the young man we saw in the first scene, filled with rage and seemingly driving to run over Park Ha-na. The series reveals that during the day he works as a mechanic and at night he would provide the service for the politician. What's still unclear is whether he knows exactly what the job entails and who he truly works for. This young man also appears in some scenes around the women's prison, engaging in what seems like volunteer work when he's conducting a children's choir there. Could he be connected to one of the inmates, seeking revenge as well? Meanwhile, during her time in prison, Park Ha-na refuses to receive visits from her husband, indicating that she wants to distance herself from him. When he receives an offer to be a foreign correspondent, which would require him to leave the country, she finally calls him to the prison. However, it's not to try to convince him to wait for her but to tell him that it would be the last time they see each other because she is a murderer and he wouldn't have a future with her. Technically, she encourages him to accept the opportunity and he indeed does so, accepting the job and moving out of the country. Meanwhile, in prison, she found comfort in a friendship with a woman who shared her pain. This woman also had her own story of remorse and opened up to Ha-na about it because she wanted to ask her a big favor. During this moment of confiding, the woman reveals that she is about to die because she has a terminal illness. She tells Ha-na that the reason she's in prison is that she caught her husband cheating on her, and acting on impulse, she set fire to the house with them inside. The whole family died except for a little boy who survived. The favor she wanted to ask Ha-na was to deliver the letters she had written to that surviving boy when she got out of prison. When she was finally released, the first thing she did was visit her son's grave. There, at the cemetery, she encounters a young man who is also visiting a grave and seems to understand Park Ha-na's pain. At that moment, it begins to rain and he shields her from the rain, offering her his umbrella. This seems to be the beginning of a relationship between these two characters. Interestingly, this young man is the same one from the beginning of the series, the one who was angry with her. So, we have the first episode starting with what apparently would be Park Ha-na's last encounter with this young man, and the second episode ending with what seemingly was their first meeting. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that there is much more at stake than just a tragic accident. As Park Ha-na seeks justice for her son and confronts her own demons, she finds herself entangled in a world of political intrigue and dark secrets. The beginning of the series has generated endless questions and possibilities. Now let's talk about the mysteries and theories that we can already formulate. One of the biggest mysteries is undoubtedly what happened with the gate and who left it open. Was it possible that Ha-na's husband was with someone at home when she arrived and when that person left, they left the gate open? Or could it be that because her husband is a reporter, he might have something against someone and that person set him up? Well, it's quite strange that the politician had a photo of the gate. It implies that someone was already keeping an eye on their house. And if we pay close attention, when Ha-na arrived from the airport, there was a mother playing with a child in front of the house and she was taking photos at the time. It seems to me that she was watching while the password was being entered into the gate lock. Could she have been the informant? Or perhaps she was the one who opened the lock? And circling back to the husband. And if it really was a lover, could it be Park Ha-na's sister? Because I noticed she seemed quite desperate when she asked Ha-na not to let her husband leave the country to be a correspondent. Did anyone else notice that, or is it just me hearing things? Or maybe there was nothing of the sort and the husband simply didn't want Ha-na to see that photo to avoid disturbing her and making her feel guilty. Since he wasn't in contact with her in prison, he still didn't know that she had remembered closing the gate. Well, I still think someone was there because the dog barked, alerting that something was wrong. I think he barked to warn that someone was there opening the gate. The fact is, there's something revealing behind this mystery because her husband retreated very quickly when the politician threatened him. Another thing that intrigued me was how quickly the driver came forward. Was it really him who ran over the child, or did he do it to cover up for someone else? Perhaps a politician receiving something in return with the promise that he wouldn't be punished. As for Eun Woo's character, at first, I thought he might be the son of the man Park Ha-na hit and wanted revenge, but now I think he might actually be the survivor of the fire to whom she should deliver the letters from the woman who was in prison. It's true that at the beginning he seems to be very angry with her, and in some of his appearances I got the impression that he's also seeking revenge. Because he had scenes in the prison, it could be a way for him to get close to the enemy and wait for the right moment to strike. So, could he somehow discover that Park Ha-na has some connection to what happened to his parents? Did he already know she would be at the cemetery, and was that meeting we saw at the end of the second episode intentional? There are so many questions, so many possibilities. I want you all to share your ideas too so I can clear my thoughts, and then we can exchange information and distract ourselves from our anxiety until the next episodes arrive. One thing is for sure, I cried a lot. I got very emotional. The series started off strong and I already thought it was worth watching even before it began because having Eun Woo in it is a must-watch. But I also loved the plot, I'm totally engrossed and I can't wait for the next episodes to come out. I hope he has a bigger role in the upcoming episodes because he looks so handsome in this drama. We'll need strong hearts to handle so much beauty. That's it, folks. Tell me what you think, and if you liked it, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next videos. I'll leave it at that. A kiss to all of you and see you next time.